You want to know what's actually insane? You are way more likely to have your life fall apart over a random $2,000 emergency than you are to go broke from missing out on the next crypto moonshot. But you're never going to see that on your timeline because, let's face it, staying prepared isn't exactly content. It's not sexy. But that's the trap. Every guru on this app is obsessed with teaching you how to get rich, but they're dead silent when it comes to teaching you how to just not be broke. And let me tell you, those are two completely different sports. We've all been there. You transfer that first $100 into your brokerage, you watch the little line turn green, and for a second, you feel like a genius. Then, 2 weeks later, life happens. Your car makes that expensive clunk, or your kid needs a trip to the dentist, and suddenly that $800 bill feels like the end of the world. Now, you're stuck with two terrible choices. Do you sell your stocks while they're down and take the hit, or do you slap the repair on a credit card and hand the bank 24% interest? Either way, you just lost the game. While you're sitting there eating ramen and wondering why compound interest hasn't fixed your bank balance yet, you've got every 20-something influencer on your feed screaming at you to invest now or lose everything. Listen to me. If you feel financially unstable, even though you're technically an investor, that isn't a personal failure. It's just what happens when you do things in the wrong order. I'm Billy, and I had to learn the hard way that throwing every spare dollar into the market while you're still broke is a total waste of time. When life hits you, it hits hard, and a portfolio isn't a shield. Today, I'm going to show you why a boring savings account is actually the only thing standing between you and a total financial meltdown. The gurus treat an emergency fund like the broccoli on the side of your plate. They know it's technically good for you, but they'd much rather talk about the juicy returns. Why? Because nobody's clicking a video titled, "I kept 10 grand in a boring account and I've never slept better." That doesn't get the views. It doesn't sell the dream. They want you rushed into the market, chasing the high of those green candles, because that's what keeps you coming back to their channel. But here's what they aren't telling you. The real job of an emergency fund isn't to make you money. Its entire purpose is to stop you from losing it. And I'm not talking about some 5% dip in the stock market. I'm talking about those catastrophic, life-altering losses that happen when you're forced to make a financial decision with a metaphorical gun to your head. When you're desperate, you make expensive mistakes. The fund is there to make sure you're never desperate. Without a cash reserve, every little hiccup in life becomes a full-blown crisis that triggers a waterfall of bad decisions. Think about it. When your car breaks, you don't just lose the $1,200 for the repair. You lose that $1,200 plus the profit on the stocks you had to sell to get to work, plus the 24% interest on whatever you couldn't cover, plus the opportunity you missed because you had no cash left to buy the dip when the market actually went on sale. It's like trying to build a house by starting with the roof. Sure, it might look like a house for a few days, but it's a total disaster waiting to happen. The second it rains, the whole thing is coming down on your head. But even if you get that, even if you know this is the right way to do it, you're still fighting an uphill battle against a billion-dollar industry that is literally designed to make you skip this step. Let's walk through the life cycle of a broke investor, and I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar. Month 1, you dump your first $500 in, you feel like a shark. Month 3, you're up 8% and you're telling everyone at the barbecue that they're missing out. Then comes month 4, your transmission decides it's done. You have zero cash, so you're forced to sell your winning position just to get to work. By month 6, the market actually dips, the buying opportunity of a lifetime, but you're tapped out. You're just a spectator. Month 8, another emergency hits, and now you're begging a credit card company for a lifeline. By the time the year is up, you're drowning in 22% interest while the rest of the world is getting rich on the recovery. That isn't some hypothetical math problem. That is the literal financial trauma that 40% of the people you walk past every day are living. They aren't investing. They are one broken refrigerator away from a total collapse.
And the apps? The ones with the sleek logos and the confetti? They've turned your future into a literal casino. They've made it so frictionless that you can buy $1,000 of a risky stock in 2 clicks, but try to move that same money into a boring savings account, and suddenly you need 3 forms of ID, a blood sample, and 2 business days to think about it. They want you in the game. They want you trading, clicking, and checking those push notifications every 5 minutes. Why? Because the entire industry is built to extract rent from your movements. Your discipline and your boring savings account, that's a loss for them. Your panic, that's their profit. Think back to March 2020. The world basically stopped on a dime. The market didn't just dip, it fell off a cliff, down 34% in 3 weeks. One day you had a career, the next, millions of people were just out. This is the exact moment an emergency fund is built for. It's not for a rainy day, it's for a hurricane. The guys who had 6 months of cash sitting in a boring bank account, they were stressed, sure, but they were stable. They could sit back, ride out the storm, and some of them even had the guts and the cash to buy the dip. But the people playing the investor game while living paycheck to paycheck, they were forced to sell every single share they owned at the absolute bottom just to pay rent. They locked in life-changing losses during the single greatest buying opportunity of our generation. And you've got these guys in their $3,000 suits telling people don't panic sell. It's the most insulting thing you can hear when you literally don't have a choice. It's like standing safely on a yacht and yelling at a guy drowning in the middle of the ocean to just relax and float. It's real easy to say when your feet aren't wet. Let's look at the actual math, because the numbers don't lie, even when the gurus do. Say you've got $5,000 in the market and $0 in the bank. 6 months later, life happens, and you need $1,500 now. You're looking at 3 doors, and they all lead to a bad place. Door number 1, you sell your stocks. You lose the gains, you pay the fees, and you pray the market isn't down that day. Door number 2, you put it on a credit card. Now that $1,500 emergency is going to cost you over $2,000 by the time the bank is done with you. Door number 3, you raid your 401k. Between the taxes and the penalties, you're basically setting 40% of that money on fire before it even hits your hand. Every single one of those options is way more expensive than the tiny bit of interest you missed out on by keeping that cash in a savings account. You're worried about making an extra 5% return while you're risking a 40% catastrophe. The math just doesn't add up. An emergency fund isn't just an annoying pre-step you have to finish before you get to the fun stuff. It is the foundation that makes the whole machine work. Look, your potential returns don't mean a damn thing if you can't actually keep your money in the market. All that growth you're dreaming about, it becomes completely irrelevant the second you're forced to sell at a loss just to survive a bad week. The industry wants you to measure success by a percentage on a screen. I want you to measure it by sustainability. If you lost your job tomorrow, could you keep your head above water for 6 months? If a $5,000 disaster landed on your doorstep this afternoon, would it derail your entire life? If the answer is no, you aren't investing. You're just gambling with money that your future self actually needs to eat. This isn't about being a doomer or living in fear. It's just about being an adult. Life is messy. Cars fall apart. People get sick. Whole industries disappear overnight. The question isn't whether life is going to swing at you. It's whether you're going to meet that swing with options or with desperation. The stock market is a machine designed to reward patience. But here's the kicker. You can only afford to be patient if your survival is already paid for. Your savings account isn't competing with your portfolio. It's the bodyguard that protects it. It's the difference between playing a high-level game of financial chess and spinning the cylinder on a game of financial Russian roulette. Build the armor first. Because at the end of the day, everybody's a gangster with their portfolio until that check engine light starts blinking. I'll see you in the next one.